Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well today. Today I have a very horrific encounter to share with you guys. One that actually sent me for a loop after talking with this subscriber. Before we get into it, a couple links. As you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon and PayPal are in the description below. Merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, the links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support this channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It doesn't cost you a cent. Click that like button. It takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads I put out daily, click that bell icon. And finally, please leave a comment. Why? Well, because all of these things, they really do help this channel to continue to grow and go. And folks, they definitely matter. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's get on with today's upload, shall we? All right, so last night in the live stream, because I don't have mods, I do everything on my own. I try to read all the comments, respond to all of them. And if someone says, I have this experience, I'll put my email in the comment section of the live stream. And sure enough, 2 or 3 people asked for my email. And really quick, before we go any further, I apologize for my breathing and me clearing my throat. I'm going to be short of breath for a while now until I can maintain what's going on with my health. So I do apologize. It's probably annoying for you guys. It's annoying for me. So I apologize first and foremost. But so I get this email. Actually, I got two emails from 2 different subs last night. And this one email said, Victor, New Mexico, help. So I opened it and there's a phone number. And the guy just said, I've got a lot to share. I need to talk to Victor. I heard that he was in New Mexico. I'm just paraphrasing. Please call me. As of late, I've got about 30 people I need to call. With everything going on, I just can't concentrate that much. So I've probably made about 7 calls when I'd normally be calling people every day. I did call this guy, and he's got quite the experience. It's horrific, and I'm going to share it with you right now. He goes by Junior. His dad is named Robert. His name's Robert, but they call him Junior. And he's 31 years old. He's 6'4", 190 pounds. He calls himself a beanpole with biceps. He's a very active rock climber, hiker. He doesn't lift weights. He just is very active outdoors. He lives in Silver City, New Mexico, which has a population of about 11,000 people. And he was out hiking just recently in an area called the Gila National Forest. Now, this is a place that he has gone all of the time. He also, I'll get to that in a moment. He has grown up there, you know. He's lived in Silver City his entire life. He spent the majority of his, teenage years hiking, rock climbing out there. There's a lot of rock outcroppings out there and so on and so forth. So on this particular day, he went out hiking. He was going out to the Gila National Forest. Where he goes is on Route 15, right outside of Our Lady of Guadalupe Benedictine Monastery. And it's going northeast on 15. And it's in an area, he parks in this area called the Gila Cliff Dwelling National Monument. And then he hikes out into the National Forest. He's done it all his life. It's something that he's done by himself with friends. When he goes rock climbing, he always goes with friends. When he goes by himself, he packs light, but he packs smart. He for some reason leaves his phone in his car, but he said that he carries it's a Garmin. A Garmin InReach, which is almost like a satellite communication device, tracking device, GPS map. He said it's about a $400 piece of equipment that he, carries with him whenever he goes out in his backpack. He keeps a flare gun with him as well. Whenever he goes out, he notifies his family, hey, I'm going out here. This is where I'm going to be. And not for cryptids. That's the key thing. It's not because of cryptids. It's because of in case he gets hurt, which is really smart. He carries, like I said, the flare gun, this Garmin InReach, which I looked into it, and I think I'm going to purchase one because it's literally an all-in-one GPS, like tracker, everything. Excuse me. So, and of course, water, power bars, a fixed blade knife. He does not carry a firearm. He does not like firearms. He's going to be carrying a firearm. As of late, he's recently bought a pistol and a rifle. So on this day, he goes out, parks, and starts his hike. From where he parks his car, it's about a 5-mile hike. So he got up early in that day, drove out, and started hiking. It was still cold when he hit the trails to go out to where he was going. He said it was like 50 degrees when he started. And, of course, it gradually warms up to 90. So he's out there just enjoying his day. And he had any kind of inkling of anything going wrong. He said that, he's watched my channel. Actually, he said he he used to watch like creepypasta channels, well, I don't really want to say the names because I don't want to act like I'm targeting any channels because I'm not. But he listened to creepypasta channels, Swamp Dweller, the Dread Family, a couple other channels. Eventually he found Dark Waters through Swamp Dweller, and through Dark Waters found my channel. He's familiar with David Politis, this, and that. He reached out to me. He said, I reached out to you because of you going to where Tom Mezek goes by yourself. He said, I think that's cool. Not smart, but cool. So very similar. He can relate to me in what I do. And he's just hiking, He's probably, 1:30, and he's in this area that is called Diablo Range in Granite Peak in the Gila National Forest. He's in between this area. He sits down, has a power bar, has some water, just kind of taking in all the beauty of the park and really just appreciating where his, he says that he's hiked, all over the country, and he appreciates where he lives the most every time he goes out here because it's just this beauty. And I can respect that. I understand. Like, I live in the Adirondacks, just like many of you. When you guys go to your state parks or, national parks that are in your state, you really get a new sense of beauty for your area, So he's planning on, what I'm going to do. Am I going to head back out? Am I going to stay for a little bit? Because it's 1:30. He's been hiking for about 4.5 hours. He decides that he's going to hike just a little longer. And this is when things start to get really bizarre for him. So Junior decides to head more into the Gila National Forest, and he's heading towards Diablo Range. Now, Granite Peak and Diablo Range are about 2 miles apart, and he has spent multiple, days, months hiking this area, so he's not a stranger to it. He starts walking or hiking, and he gets about a half an hour into his new mission, his new hike. And he starts to smell this just really bad smell. He said that he expected that he was going to stumble upon, a large, deer or something in the vicinity. He said it smelled so bad that there was no way this was a small animal. He figured, something large maybe died of natural causes or, a poacher or something. So keeps going, and he sees this kind of scuffle area, and we Zoom called today. It's really a great call, great person. So he gets to this, the trail is, it's like your regular trail, but then there's this clearing, and there's more outcroppings. There's just a lot of outcroppings in this area. And he sees this kind of just like, it looks like there had been like a dance party out here. The sand, the rocks are kicked up. There's just a lot of debris. And it looked like a lot of activity had gone on in this area. So he's like, whoa, maybe there was like, maybe there was a poacher, and maybe it did, shoot. Maybe he did shoot somebody, or not somebody, something large, and this person, cut it up here, or whatever happened. A bunch of stuff is going through his head. He's not thinking cryptid. He's not thinking anything as of yet. He's getting the chilies. Is what he called it. And I laughed when he said that, because, when you're talking to a grown adult, and I when I laughed, I said, I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at how you said it, and he's just like, no, I understand. And so he's like, man, this is weird. I probably should head back out. I probably should just, but curiosity kind of got the best of him, and he keeps walking. Probably 5 minutes go by, and there's some more like area that looked like it had been disturbed. Pretty much it looked like a fight had occurred. There's blood in the sand, and there's chunks of hair, meat. And he's like, what is going on? What, he's thinking now, I wonder if a mountain lion had come and killed a deer. And now he's getting like the real feeling of dread and nervousness, because now he sees there's blood, there's chunks of, hair and flesh, and just, this just disturbed area. Being an experienced hiker, rock climber, outdoorsman, he has, in his pack, he's got a bunch of stuff. It's just become second nature to him. He has like a small collapsible hatchet, and he keeps like Ziploc baggies in case it rains, and he's got to put like his Garmin thing in there, or his wallet or whatever, because he keeps his wallet with him in case he falls or something happens and he does die, so he can be identified. He ends up taking his fixed blade and taking a Ziploc baggie out of his pack and putting some of this bloody sand. It's not dirt, it's sand, and pebbles and stuff, and a chunk of this flesh in this bag. Zips it up, puts it in his bag. So now he's like, all right, I'm going to turn and head back. He turns and heads back, and he gets back to the first area where the disturbance was that he had seen. The initial area, not, this is where the blood was. He's going back to where, he had his break, back to the Gila, the Gila Cliff Dwelling National Monument, where he parked. He's now 5 or 6 miles deep. So he's got another 4 hours It took him 4 hours to get here. Probably less. He farted around a lot, he said. So he can get in and out of where he was in about 2. At a decent clip, But he just really likes to look at stuff and hike. That's what he does. But he knows he's got a distance. He knows he's got time to travel. He keeps looking around because now he's like, is there a mountain lion around me? Am I going to get hurt? I said, well, why did you pick up the dirt in that flesh? And he said, I don't know. I found it weird. It was definitely weird looking. It was strange. I wanted to show, my dad. His dad is like him, a hiker, outdoorsman, except he's a lot older now. And, and he's got it in this sealed Ziploc. And it's on his back, and he can smell it through. It's permeating through his bag, He gets to this location, and he keeps going. Well, he gets finally to where he had sat initially and had his power bar and water. Passes that, keeps looking. And about 5 minutes down the trail, he is like, all right, I'm far enough away. I haven't heard anything. I'm going to sit for a minute and kind of get my composure and really calm down. He was walking at a good clip. So his balance was off, so it was time to just sit, get his bearings, and get out after he calmed down a little more. He gets to this place where he's sat in many times. There's a big rock outcropping that he said looks like a chimney. It's a natural outcropping, but it looks like a chimney, it kind of goes up, and there's these caves that are in this area people go spelunking there. He's been spelunking there. And they go deep into the mountains. So he's sitting there, and he hears this just kind of howl, and kind of like a whimpered pain. And he's like, what the hell is that? What, and he's sitting there, he's listening, he's like, and he's looking around too, but he's listening because he's like, all right, now I know something's out here big. There's some predator. I can hear a growl, but I also hear a kind of canine-like howl of pain. What am I hearing? Maybe there's a coyote. Maybe whatever did that was a coyote or possibly a wolf. So he's like, all right, I gotta go. I can't calm down. I've just gotta go. So he gets up and starts heading down this trail. Now, where the outcropping is, it would be on his left-hand side. And he's got to kind of curve around the trail, kind of the outcroppings here. So the trail kind of goes like this. And he's now walking at a better clip. He's scared. He's tripping, kicking rock. And just really at a his level of fear is just at max peak for him right now. As he kind of comes, he hears that growl howl again. And it's not a howl like a wolf or a coyote would do, like that. It's not like that. It's like this growl pitch, like pain whimpered. And he hears it. But now he can kind of hear. It's not on his right side. It's not in front of him. It's not behind him. But it's on his left side. Excuse me. And he looks over. And what he sees nearly stopped his heart. He saw movement, so he kind of got behind this tree and is looking. He's trying to be as quiet as possible. And what he sees is this large canine. He sees the muzzle, and it looks like it's on all fours, but it's not. Its back legs are long, dragging. He said this thing looked like, it was trying to get up, but he couldn't really see much of it because of his vantage point. So he moves a little more, and he now can see why this canine-looking creature is not getting up. Because there is this 5.5 foot emaciated-looking creature, bald, white. Actually, he said it was like a light pink color. I'm not going to use the exact terminology he used, but no, I will. He said foreskin pink is what he said, and we both had a chuckle. And it's like biting this dog. He thinks it's a wolf at first. But he's like, this thing's huge. The Dogman is now snapping back. It grabs the creature and flicks it with its arm and stands. And it's at least 7-8 feet. It's huge, he said. But it's not apexed. How it stood, it was hurt. And as that creature, the crawler, or whatever you want to call them, just don't call them a rake because we're not a creepypasta channel. As he flicked it, it didn't go far. It got up again, but then he notices there are two more with it, and they've surrounded it because he's got a better vantage, so he can see what is going on. And they're like slashing at this thing. It's growling, and there's blood. There's just chunks of flesh missing on this Dogman, and these 3 crawlers are savagely attacking it. At one point, one of the crawlers, the 2 jump on the Dogman. The Dogman is fighting these things. It is biting, but it's really not having any kind of luck. It's pretty much, he said, from where he first saw that attack zone, or where everything was just scuffled, he's assuming that was where they must have met up. And then there's another location, and now this location. So they must have been fighting here for a while going through. And he's looking and like, what am I? This is real. At one point, one of them looks around. He doesn't know if it sees him, but he gets that feeling like it did see him. And how he described this creature, he said it was just this really pale looking, its eyes were like this blackish red. There were what appeared to be pupils, but the eyeball was red. They weren't glowing. It was just how he was looking at it. You know, he didn't see any white in this eye. It was just red with black pupils. And it kind of looked over in his direction and then turned and looked at the Dogman. And as it did that, all three jumped on the Dogman. He said they had large hands. Their hands were like long, not large like Andre the Giant large, but long fingers. Just like really long, skinny, elongated fingers with what appeared to be claw-like appendages coming out. He said the fingers appeared to be, 6 inches long with like a 2-inch kind of claw thing off of them, off the tip. And they were a whiter color than its skin. And their teeth were, he could see their teeth as he looked at this, because it was, when it looked at him, it had its mouth open. It had like these elved ears, completely naked. He didn't see any genitalia. He said, I did not see any genitalia. They weren't wearing clothes. They weren't, they weren't wearing like a bodysuit. They were just weird nakedness to them. And when it turned and looked at him, it turned back. They all jumped on this creature. Like he said, there's no telling how long the Dogman and these things have been fighting, but he could tell when it stood up that it was on its last leg. It had lost too much blood. A few, he could see wounds on the creatures as well, on the crawlers as well. But when they jumped on it, he heard more growling. And then this just kind of whimper, a very long, drawn-out whimper, like when a canine dies. And he's now frozen in absolute fear because he's like, I don't even know what I'm looking at. I'm 5 miles away from civilization. I don't. And what he sees next is he sees 2 more of these creatures come out that are smaller, probably 5 feet. These are about 5.5, 6 feet. But 2 smaller come, and the 5 of them all kind of drag the Dogman into this cave that's near this outcropping. And the Dogman is dead. It's just dead. Tongue is hanging out of its mouth. There was just a lot of blood. He said the weirdest thing was there was no communication verbally or, I guess verbally would be the word. There was he couldn't hear anything. He couldn't hear them communicating to each other. They just moved as kind of like they knew what they were doing. And they dragged it into this cave in this outcropping. And he's standing there and he's like, I can't believe what I just saw. I need to get out of here. And I need to get out of here now. So he starts running. And he's tripping over rocks. He said he probably ran at breakneck speed for a half an hour. You're just winded, completely just drained. He stops, catches his breath, and he's pulls out the Garmin thing, looks, and he's like, I'm still an hour and a half away. He proceeds to catch his breath, and at a quick, not a run, he can't run anymore. He's drained. So he now is walking, kind of jogging, but walking at a good clip, not running. He had worn himself down. But as he's at a good speed, he kind of starts to feel like this, like something's watching him. He doesn't know. He's like, I honestly, Jeff, I thought it was because of what I just saw. You know, but then then my fears started to play. You know, he goes, I wondered if it was my head playing games on me. He goes, but, you know, I know I needed to leave as fast as I could. And as he's running, not running, but jogging, walking, what is that? Like, he keeps seeing shadows off to the side and on the left side of him. He doesn't see anything. It's like almost a glimpse of something in his periphery. And he's, you know, that makes him kind of go faster, but now it's really playing with his mental. Sorry. And as he's probably now a mile away, he's thirsty. He stops and gets his water out, starts to have a drink, and he hears this weird, almost high-pitched chirping. He's heard, you know, what, like fox and squirrels, the noises they make, and, you know, anything else native to this area he's heard. And it's nothing that he's ever heard. It's just this really strange kind of like chirp. He said that it almost reminded him of a bat, like when they're swarming around, but it had more of a bass to it, but it wasn't like deep. It was just deeper than what the bat noises are. They're like whatever, sonar or whatever that noise, whatever the proper word is. And he's like, you know, that's the only thing I could put it to, is what the sound bats make, but louder. The only thing he has is his knife in this flare gun. And he gets his flare gun out. It's like one of those, it's a 12 gauge flare gun. So he got like a 12 gauge shell in his flare gun, puts his water in his bag, and starts walking out. Like I said, he's got a mile left. He's now still catching glimpses of stuff in his periphery, and he's hearing this noise. And as he's about a quarter of a mile to the entrance, or where the Gila cliff dwelling national monument is, he hears something off to his right and to his left, kind of clicking, chirping to each other. Loses it at that point. He doesn't see anything, but he loses it and just starts running. And as he's running, he's listening. He can hear his heart. He can hear his breathing. And he hears something in behind him in the woods. He said, Jeff, I don't know if I did really. He goes, or if it was just my imagination with fear. You know how fear plays that, like, there's something behind you. He gets out and just practically drops and is breathing heavy, puts his flare gun away because there's obviously public there. Looks behind him, looks all around. There's nothing. The noises aren't there anymore. There's kind of any sound at all. He gets to his car and he does the only thing that he knows. He calls his dad and says, Dad, I need to talk to you. I've got to tell you something that just happened. And can you meet me? I don't want to go to your house. I don't want to go home yet. Let's meet up at this diner and have some coffee and just, let's have a talk. He's a smoker sometimes, even though he's, an outdoors person. He's waiting for his dad, and he had, 2 or 3 cigarettes. When he stopped at a store to get a pack of cigarettes, the guy's like, are you okay? Because his hands are shaking. And he then just, I'm fine, gets his pack of cigarettes, goes and meets his dad. And he tells his dad, he shows his dad what he has in the pack. The dad can smell it. Obviously they're in the diner. He didn't bring his backpack in the car. He tells his dad this whole experience in the diner. His dad can smell the smoke on him. He's like, are you smoking again? He's like, after this I bought a pack. I don't know, he doesn't like smoking, but he does smoke when he gets stressed. He goes, after what happened, I needed it. I needed to have it, come out to my car and let me show you what I have, and after they have their coffee, dad has lunch, dinner, whatever. He can't eat because he's spent. He's mentally and physically just beat. And they go out to the car and he pulls out his bag and shows his dad, and his dad's facial expression when he smelled what was in the bag, he could smell it in his car. It's just this smell of like death and like roadkill. There was no like urine or whatever. It was just this really rich smell of just something bad. They look and dad's like, what the hell? What? You can't go out there anymore. You can't do this. You can't. And he goes his way. The dad goes, and the dad calls him up later that night. His dad's on the phone and he says, Bobby, Do you remember when we went to the cliff dwellings, the Gila cliff dwellings? And, this is hours later. And he said, yeah, I remember going there, why, what? And it's actually pronounced Magion, but the Caucasian pronounce it Mogollon. It's Mogollon, but it's pronounced Magion. Do you remember the cave paintings in the cliff dwellings when we had gone up there when you were a teenager? And he said, a little bit, but what's your point? He said there was paintings of these creatures, there was actually paintings of like Native American. They were much different than these red kind of humanoid looking figures. The Native American or the Magion were much bigger in this depiction than these creatures, but they were, fighting. You could see they were fighting. And there were, pictures of caves and stuff like that. He goes, I think that's what you saw, are what the Magion drew on the caves. He goes, I thought about it. I kept thinking about it more and more, after we left each other. And, I was trying to put a name or a picture or something to this description that you told me. He goes, and for some reason I remembered, us going there when you were a teenager, and I remember seeing this painting, and I thought it was so weird because I was like, well, is this, them fighting off other tribes and stuff like that? And the person who was in charge of doing, the guide or whatever that was describing everything had no idea. He said, honestly, I don't know what this depicts. Maybe it is them fighting off a warring tribe. But the depiction was so different than a human. Like the humanoid or human Magion depiction of themselves was, like it looked like what a child would draw. But the depiction of these things were much worse. Like the hands were longer, the bodies were shorter, and they used like a red kind of chalk or whatever to draw, and then the Magion were done in like this blackish brown color. They didn't have like blues and greens and stuff. Well, they did, but they didn't. They used what they had, like what natural. But he's like, maybe that's what you saw, was this. And he's like, I don't know what I saw. I don't want to talk about it, Dad. I can't talk about it anymore. So then he forgot. He got home, just parked his car, got up the next morning to go into work, got in his car, and his whole car smelled of this fleshy hair tissue that he had in his backpack in a sealed freezer Ziplocky with the sand in it. this bloody sand. And so he took it out of his car, put the windows down, went inside, sprayed his car out. His car smelled for a good week. But he apparently has this sand and hair flesh mix still in his garage. I said, let's get it tested. Do you want me to pay for it? Let's split it out. Let's figure out a place in New Mexico right now to get it tested. I'll use my credit card. I don't care. I want to know what that was. I don't know. We're going to talk about it in the next couple of days of what he wants to do. But I never ever thought that I'd hear something so bizarre. The way he looked while telling me this, the fear in his eyes. And when he said, the thing turned and looked at him, and he's like, Jeff, the eyes were he goes, I have nightmares. He goes, I have nightmares about the eyes staring back at me. He goes, what I saw was just horrific. He goes, but what really scared me the most was those eyes. And he said, I couldn't believe what I witnessed. These just alien looking, alien, not, he made sure, he said alien because they were so foreign looking. He said, a Dogman looks like a dog. A Bigfoot looks like a ape, kind of. He said, these things are just foreign. He goes, I can't even, he goes, they were just, he said, they didn't look, he said, what he saw didn't look like these videos or drawn depictions of a crawler where it has no ears, and it's just, he said, it did have an ear, and they were elf-like, and the eyes were this red that stuck out, their face was this pinkish, lightish, skin-colored pink, but the redness and then the black, and he still has nightmares. He said, I have nightmares. 2 weeks, he's 2 weeks this has been going on, and I have nightmares still. He said, when are they going to end? Brother, I'm not a psychiatrist. I said, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. Maybe sharing this will help you. Coming on sharing this will help you. But, let's figure out something that we can do with this sand and this stank flesh hair that you got. His car still has the faint odor in it. He said, I'm not married. I have a girlfriend, but we don't use my car when, since this has happened, I go with her. It's just unbelievably crazy. And now he went and bought a pistol. He asked me about the Fort Scott munitions. Bought a rifle, and he's like, I'm not gonna stop hiking. He goes, but I'm not going up there. He goes, and if I do, he goes, it's gonna be with my dad and a few of our friends that are armed, but he'll never spelunk again. He said, he goes, he's went spelunking, and what spelunking, for those of you who don't know what spelunking is, it's just caving. And you don't have to, go deep with a hat a light crawling, that's like ultimate spelunking. You can find a cave and just walk into it, and that's still spelunking. But he goes, seeing what I saw and seeing those things act as one unit without any kind of communication, and then dragging it into that hole in the ground, I will never go in a cave ever again. So, yeah, but I'll keep you guys in the loop of what he and I talk about. I don't know what he wants to do. I know it was probably the craziest. I felt so bad for him. Like, we're in this Zoom call, and when he was describing, like I said, he watched this whole thing go down. When he described the eyes and how it looked at him, but then when he described the two, whatever it was, and he really thinks that it was this crawler-like creature on both sides of him, kind of doing that, what is that, echo response or whatever, calling out to each other. That really messed him up. This whole experience really messed him up. So with that, I'll keep you guys in the mix on this one. And the second I know something, you guys will know something. All right, guys, with that, I'd like to thank you all for all of your support and prayers, well wishes. Once again, I apologize for my breathing. It's embarrassing. I can hear it myself when I listen back to it. My chest is killing me. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, just please, guys, stay safe while you're out in the woods. These creatures are real, not just what he shared with us, but Bigfoot, Dogman, things, portals are real. Science has already proven an existence of life in another dimension. You can read about it. It's not like it's not fiction. It's not, a made up story. This is real. Scientists have already formulated that there is an existence on another plane of existence, So if there's another plane of existence, there's got to be a doorway. Monsters are real. These things are real. The portals are real. Our government knows these things are out there. They're keeping it a secret from us. Who knows why? And honestly, who cares why they are keeping it a secret from us? The fact is they are. And that's the worst part of all this. Because we're the ones that keep the government going. Our tax dollars are what keeps this government in their, suits and beautiful homes and this and that. Well, they look at us like fodder. That's not what we are. Please keep an eye on your pets, your children, your loved ones, your friends, your family, everything that you hold dear and near to your heart. Because these monsters are out there. These creatures are out there. And they're watching us. They're watching our pets. They're watching us walk our dogs. They're watching our cats when we let them outside. They're watching our children play in their backyard. You got woods behind your house that go on for a little bit. You best bet there's something in those woods or there was at one time, or there will be soon. And they probably watched our kids. I think about my daughters when they were little, going up into Lake George to the YMCA camp, which is literally on the lake And what's behind that is woods in a mountain. Guys, just be safe, please. And ever vigilant. Happy and healthy. God bless.